Decades before Charlie Cox, before Ben Affleck, there was Rex Smith, the Daredevil of 1989. Today, we're going to go over the Daredevil from the TV movie, The Trial of the Incredible Hulk, and the Unmade TV series he almost had. I'm Ben Wan, and this is Superhero Stuff You Should Know. Welcome to the show. Andrew is on sabbatical right now, but I've brought in a guest co-host. He's a friend of mine, a Patreon supporter, a fellow podcaster. He's a co-host of a variety of different shows. Now the Batman, Flashbacks, a Flash Rewatch podcast, the CW show, What Mean. I've been on all of them. He's been on our show before. Great podcaster, great friend of mine. Please welcome Alex to Superhero Stuff You Should Know.
Thanks, Ben, for the kind words. It's good to be back. It's last time I was here was for the Suicide Squad script one. That was
going on something much better right now.
Yeah, thank goodness.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I thought you were the perfect person to bring on for this because I think I had known about this TV movie beforehand, but I think you and I saw it around the same time or something. We both knew it was like online. It's currently right now on YouTube, but it was like on Tubi earlier, and I think you might have seen it first before I did or something like that. I remember we specifically talked about this TV movie before.
Yeah. I had the combo pack, and then it was one of those things where I have this one and the Thor one. The Thor one isn't as good from my memory. The Thor one's much more, I would describe that one as like Thor's like a frat bro. And that one, like it's just not, I don't think they're gonna make a series out of that one, but this one's good. Actually, briefly, I know I always come into these things like the superhero like stuff wrong, basically. Like I know famously I have the Batman Forever thing where I started it like basically like halfway, a quarter of the way through the movie. This one I saw Death of the Incredible Hulk, like the last one, before I saw anything else of the series. And so I was just kind of like, this is good, I guess. Like I liked the transformation and stuff. I remember him having a force field, and me like the takeaway for me being like, oh, that's cool. Like him hitting the force field, I would hit like the sprinkler outside and scare my sister. Basically, like doing like the growls, like those animalistic growls that he does in these movies. But yeah. So pretty much like wrong end of it, like as always, like started with Returns instead of 89. So continuing that tradition.
Right. It's funny though. I remember seeing episodes of it. I think around the time of, I want to say around the Edward Norton movie. I think my very first introduction to Hulk in general was the Ang Lee movie. I knew of the TV series, but like it wasn't really something that like I grew up with that much. And then at one point I caught reruns around the time of the Edward Norton one, so I kind of knew what the references were by the time I saw that movie. But I always knew about this one because I was already more familiar with Daredevil thanks to the Spider-Man the Animated Series, and then of course the Ben Affleck movie. And so I was always curious about it, but I never really had the chance to watch it until like maybe a couple years ago, where it was when I was like, oh, it's on Tubi. Like, oh, I should check it out. And it really surprised me because of how much of it you expect to be like, oh, Trial of the Incredible Hulk. With Daredevil, it's a Hulk movie, and Daredevil's going to show up for a little bit, and that's cool. And then you watch it, and I'm like, oh, this is a Daredevil movie, and Hulk's just kind of in it as the client, but it's really a Daredevil backdoor pilot for a potential Daredevil series, and that's what it really was at the time. And you really see the potential for it in this, and it's really interesting. It's a really interesting watch considering where Daredevil's at today, having had a critically acclaimed Netflix show, and now the return of it, the revival of it with Born Again. So it's definitely a piece of history that is overlooked.
It's like you said, I think it's kind of forgotten. Basically, I think the thing that people might probably, and I'm sure we'll get into this, might remember one of the things it is famous for is I think this was one of the first things to have like a Stan Lee cameo in it. So like that was
now actually
one of the big things in it.
And it's the early MCU in some way, right? So here's the Stan Lee cameo. So first Stan Lee cameo, as well as Thor was previously introduced in Incredible Hulk Returns, which I haven't seen. shows where my priorities are. I'm just like Daredevil. All right, I'm going to see that one. But they had Thor in that, Daredevil in this, and then I had gone over with Andrew the fact that they wanted to do a She-Hulk spinoff from Hulk, which is the most natural spinoff, of course,
Yeah.
off that. And then apparently, according to IGN, in that list was Iron Man. They were going to try to do an Iron Man as well. I don't know how that would have worked on a TV budget. We can't even give horns to Rex Smith in this version, but it's.
I like that retroactively though. Like obviously it influenced Frank Miller with the Man Without Fear stuff, too, like with his design and everything. And
Yeah,
and
for sure.
something I noticed, because like I think I even brought it up to you, is like I would be more intimidated by somebody that was out there like that basically looked like they had a blindfold on, but was still like beating people's asses out there. I think I'd be more freaked out by that than just like somebody, because like you're just like, if he's doing this like this, then like, you know, if he could see, just imagine what this guy could do. Like it would be very intimidating. They do a really good job in this with some of the choreography and everything, which I'm sure is a limited budget, but it looks pretty good.
Yeah, it does. So I think we're kind of gonna go through the history of it, the movie. We'll go over the characters in it and who could have been in the spinoff, as well as go into. I have information that I just recently kind of found, even though it's been online, but I found information on why this didn't go right. That's beyond just like, well, like the Trial of the Incredible Hulk wasn't an amazing and like cultural phenomenon type of thing at the time. It's a forgotten thing, but there's actual information on what happened that I think is going to be very interesting. But I think the first thing for us to go over is this tidbit with some stuff that our Dan, I've now promoted to being a producer and editor on the show. Congrats, Dan.
Nice.
But, the one thing that I had him bring up is this, which is that the first attempt to bring Daredevil to TV was actually in 1975 from Angela Bowie, the wife of David Bowie. Angela got the rights for a series about Daredevil and Black Widow. And for those who've only seen the MCU adaptations, Daredevil and Black Widow were a couple at one point in the comics. And Bowie recruited actor Ben Carruthers to don the Daredevil suit here. And while this TV series was never made, they did at least do this photo shoot in character with Bowie as Black Widow. So here we are, right here.
The painted face is interesting to me, because like the other one looks pretty good. It kind of looks like the lower body with the little belt kind of reminds me of 60s Catwoman a little bit.
Yeah,
but
right.
But the other one is it's troubling. Like it looks interesting.
The Daredevil one.
Yeah, Daredevil one's a little rough.
Yeah, there's no gloves, and also it's weird seeing Daredevil's eyes.
Yeah.
Right? Like
Bizarre.
He shouldn't have the eyes. That's at least what, like, for all the faults of saying the Rex Smith version doesn't have the actual a devil type of look to it, but they at least got the fact that his eyes are covered.
Yeah. Well, mostly. I don't know if you noticed this. Like it's kind of, I noticed when he was talking in one bit, like it has like a little cutout almost where like the cloth is thinner and you kind of see like his eyes reflect a little bit. Like I saw that and I'm like, oh, okay, that's how the guy would move around then.
Yeah.
I think that's because I'm watching it in a higher resolution, because I don't think I noticed that maybe the first watch through. I don't know if you're supposed to really notice that.
Yeah. I don't think so either. It's supposed to be hidden, but now that we have the internet and being able to pause stuff or stuff in higher definition than just watching it on your TV set for one night in 1989, like that type of stuff is going to come through. But I mean, it's fine. It's practically what Rex Smith had to do in order to fight in that thing, and Charlie Cox too, from when he wore something similar. So it does make sense. So here is here are the images of that Daredevil with the Hulk. So this is Trial of the Incredible Hulk, Bill Bixby and Lou Ferrigno as the classic team, David Banner and the Hulk, with Rex Smith here as Daredevil, written by Gerald DePego and directed by Bill Bixby himself, which I forgot about until I revisited this.
Yeah. Was this his? Do you know if this was his first? Did he direct the other one, or was this his first kind of directorial debut? Maybe.
Good question. I think he might have directed the previous one, but let me look that up right now as we're talking. But yeah, I had forgotten about it. But a lot of these actors do become TV directors, and it makes sense too because they're the ones who are on set all the time. They kind of know the ins and outs of it. and it's kind of just it's an easier transition compared to I would think film, because you're already such a focal point, you're already such a mainstay for that show,
Mhm.
and you've seen the behind the scenes, you know how it goes, and the director is like a smaller part of the TV world compared to movies, right? Because you kind of have to have a unifying take on it throughout. He's done, let's see, he has yeah, it looks like he's directed a lot. He was not the director of The Incredible Hulk Returns, but he
Mm.
had directed a lot of TV. Wow, directed a lot of TV. He did direct a previous Incredible Hulk episode called "Bring Me the Head of the Hulk."
Oh,
Um, he's been a director on Charlie's Angels. Wow. Um,
nice.
Herbie the Love Bug. Let's see here, Sledgehammer, and then he did direct The Death of the Incredible Hulk, and
Yeah.
then he directed There was a Ferris Bueller TV show.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
I actually know a little bit about that, and
go ahead.
the pilot episode. I haven't seen anything else but this one clip. So like in the show, he's aware of the movie. Like it's almost like he's the real Ferris Bueller, and there's a cutout of Matthew Broderick, and he takes like a chainsaw and like saws it in half basically, and says, "I'm
Mhm.
the real Ferris Bueller" and stuff like that. It's really bad.
Wow. But
Yeah.
I think I like the charm of that because of the fact that they were like, "Hey, we know it's a different actor. Here's our sort of explanation on that." Without going like too overboard with like silly shit. I'm sure that there's been stuff where like, oh, he got plastic surgery or something like that, or I don't know if you've seen the clip that's gone around of when they did the directed video George of the Jungle 2, and the actor kind of breaks the fourth wall and tells the
Yeah,
screen like, yeah, Disney couldn't afford Brendan Fraser to come back, so now they got me.
it's hilarious. There's reminds me of Smallville, but actually they did that well though, where they had the two Morgan Edges. They
Yeah,
had the
I was
one
thinking that
that
too.
was, yeah, him, and then the other guy, like because he studied, you know, his friend basically, and he was
Hmm.
able to kind of get his mannerisms down and everything.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
yeah, this
So
guy's this Daredevil is kind of like ninja, like what fits,
yeah.
but kind of like ninja like. Like I've noticed he does like a lot of like these moves and like is very like spry and like
Mhm.
and how he moves and everything.
Yeah,
Definitely.
no, you really got that down with, given the budget that they had, and
Mhm.
like given that there's a bit of that background too that would become more and more part of the character with Stick in the hand, where it's
Mhm.
not just like, oh, he's a boxer too because of his father. Like, oh, there's more Eastern martial arts training involved in this with Stick and stuff. So which would come in, I mean, I'd be alluded to, you would see it more in the Man Without Fear comic series, but that was after
Mhm.
this. But I think it was alluded to at least in the Frank Miller stuff. You've read more of the Frank Miller stuff than I have at this point for Daredevil.
Yeah.
So,
Um,
but I know Stick shows up during those. It's just not, you don't see the training, right? But he is a character.
um, I I think you do see like flashbacks. I've seen panels of it.
Okay,
Like you
cool.
see like brief flashbacks to the trainings. I've seen some of
Mhm.
like Miller's stuff, but I'm actually in the part like I'm kind of in the early days of it. It's like early on, like I've been sending you like screenshots of like
Mhm.
Kingpin doing like this move and
Yeah,
everything and
in
like stuff
Spider-Verse.
like that.
Yeah.
There's a scene in this actually with Fisk, like where they're in a boardroom that reminds me, it has like similar framing to like one of those comic panels. They definitely did their research, like we were kind of saying offline earlier or
Mhm.
online, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's cool to see. There's definitely differences in the comics
Hmm.
versus the movie. I mean, this is kind of the most obvious one with the costume, but at the same time, it kind of retroactively became, comic accurate because of what we would see later on. But that's kind of one of the most interesting things about this movie is this is during a time where you wouldn't expect much comic accuracy, and there's kind of surprising things that are in it that are comic accurate, and things that aren't comic accurate that you would think like, oh, like that's an interesting choice, like some of the supporting characters.
Yeah.
So but the man of the hour here is Rex Smith, who was the original Daredevil before Charlie Cox, well before Ben Affleck. And I first knew Rex Smith actually as a singer. I didn't know that he was
Oh.
Daredevil, but he did Broadway at one point because I grew up with I didn't see him perform, but I grew up with as a kid, my parents would listen to the albums of different musicals, and he was on one of them. And then I found out, like, oh, he's Daredevil. And it was kind of a cool connection because he played, I'm going to butcher the pronunciation, but Chavalon in The Scarlet Pimpernel, who's like this determined, he's like this cop during the French Revolution type of thing. It's kind of like Javert in Les Mis, but like he's like determined to find his man. And I'm like, oh well, then I can totally see him as Daredevil then. There, he was a teen idol rock star, had hits on the top 40 when he was younger, and his first semi superhero type thing, and probably the reason why he got cast in this, was that he was on a series called Street Hawk. I don't know if you heard about this one.
No.
I haven't seen it, but from the description of it, it sounds like, oh, he's like secretly riding this motorcycle, and the motorcycle is like this crime fighting tool. I don't know if it talks, but it kind of sounds like Knight Rider with a motorcycle.
That's pretty cool. I mean, that sounds like it'd be fun to watch. Definitely.
Yeah, but the weird thing about this is it's Matt Murdock, but he never wears the sunglasses. Instead, they gave the sunglasses to Kingpin. So it's a weird choice. It's one of those things where I'm like, you could have easily done the comics. In this, it's not that you objected to anybody wearing sunglasses on screen. You just gave it to the wrong character.
Yeah, he's the guy that they got. I used to call him like a used car salesman kind of vibe, but he definitely, like, after watching it a little bit more, I'm like, he's more of a director in this. Like, they kind of made him like the whole lights, camera, action. There's a lot of like screens around him and everything. Like, he's directing people from behind the scenes. Like, he that's the vibe that Kingpin or sorry, Mr. Fisk has in this. Man.
Here, I'm going to pull up the comparison that Dan did over here, but this is kind of the comparison of Born Again and what's in the TV movie, right, with all the screens. But there's definitely more of a director vibe to this version of Fisk. Are you an actress? I was hoping you were an actress, he says to that one hostage. So that was it's doesn't feel like the comic book Fisk, and he's never called Kingpin. And so if there's a flaw, I think, in terms of the characterizations, it's that this Fisk doesn't quite feel like it. But you could also see, like, hey, maybe if this was a TV show, he would maybe evolve closer to it. But we only just have this to go off of. He at least serves the role of like the big bad mob villain, but who's pulling the strings. And that's all you kind of really need in, like, when you first adapt this type of stuff, you kind of just need to at least fulfill the bare minimum, I think.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing is, like, at this time, and like I'm sure some viewers may remember this. I think I was talking to Brady about this at one point too, who is like my co-host for right now on Flashbacks. But like at the time, we were so desperate for like faithful comic book stuff that if they got it close enough, like, we'd be happy. Basically, if they like reference something, we would just be like, oh my god, they referenced this thing, or they didn't like mess it up or like change a character for like no reason or come up with an original character, like they actually did something, kind of thing. So you had to kind of like take your lumps, basically, where you're just like, this is close enough. And like, really kind of, I mean, the X-Men movies too back then, for even though those do have some good qualities, sometimes they give off the vibe that they were ashamed of their source material, basically. But
you're absolutely right in the sense that there was a time where just the mention, because I'm thinking about like Smallville sometimes, where like if there's a Smallville episode that mentioned Gotham City, everyone would be like, oh my god. And nowadays it's just like, well, why wouldn't they mention Gotham City? Like, that's like, why aren't they? Like, now we go to the Penguin, where it's like, how come Batman's not even mentioned? Like, now people are just expecting, like, you have to throw in Easter eggs, you have to have references. Whereas like in the old days, we loved it when there was even a reference.
Definitely. Yeah, it's one of those things too, where it's just like you said, where even with this, I'm sure this was a big deal to some comic book fans at the time, like flaws and all, basically. My one thing with it, and I've thought about this, like, obviously I've seen the Spider-Man 70s show, and that one, the first one was like a movie, and that one was closer to the comics, even at Aunt May. My concern for this is if it turned into a show, would they get rid of some of these cast members and just have like Daredevil fighting some random people or something like that? Maybe. Like, that would be my fear at this point. Like, I don't know.
I do have information that John Rhys Davies and Rex Smith said that John Rhys Davies had signed on for the series if they were going to do the series. Like, so they were going to bring him back as the Kingpin, and he'd be the big bad. Not like he would be in every single episode. I don't think they were quite thinking of a serialized type of thing like the Netflix show, but he would be he described it as like the Moriarty to Daredevil Sherlock Holmes. He would be the one pulling the strings, which is what you would want from something like this.
Yeah, I kind of wish this happened, because definitely even watching the beginning part of this, like this was one of the best like early like serious like dramatic superhero shows of its time, basically. Like just watching it, like even it gave me like alternate universe Netflix vibes when it opens up with like him like with that random woman where he's about to leave and she's like, "Oh, you sure you won't stay?" Where he's like working in that small town somewhere.
She definitely had the hots for him.
Oh, definitely. I could definitely see it though, like a series where it's like he spends a few episodes like over there or something like that. Like it had that kind of like Netflix vibes, or like Punisher. I've been rewatching a little bit of that where he like, you know, he kind of like travels around and meets like random girls and stuff like that. So kind of gives those vibes.
One last thing on Rex Smith that we should go over, because it's very relevant to this podcast. It's something that shocked me when I first heard it. So years before Ben Affleck did it, Rex Smith, the original Daredevil, was almost Batman in 1989.
Wow.
According to an interview with Surge of Power, Rex revealed that he screen tested for the role for Tim Burton's Batman, presumably around the time that he was playing Daredevil for Trial of the Incredible Hulk. I mean, I don't know how the timing matches up, but he said he was the studio's choice for it. He met with Warner Brothers, and I can't help but think, you know, screenwriter Sam Hamm had intended for Bruce Wayne, when he wrote that script, to go to a lesser known actor, to not go to a major star. And Smith fits that bill. You know, he's not a huge actor. And if you dye his hair black and have him play a sighted person, you can kind of use Trial of the Incredible Hulk as like a slight audition piece for the Sam Hamm version of the 89 movie, where Bruce was sort of written a little closer to the traditional comics. But, you know, for those who are watching, let us know what you guys think of the casting choice and how he could have pulled it off. But I thought that was fascinating.
He has the intensity, definitely. Like this guy has like a lot of intensity to him, even in his like civilian guys too. I've noticed.
Yeah, for sure. And I can see that translate over into what Hamm had written in that original script. So it was a cool thing to find out, because I had learned that right before rewatching this, because we were both going to rewatch it before jumping onto the recording, and so I was kind of watching it through that lens and being like, okay, like I can kind of see it. Maybe he wouldn't have like a lot of different things that we associate with 89 would have been very different with a different actor in it. Like, I just can't imagine anyone else other than Keaton doing "You Want to Get Nuts."
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm like, well, in an alternate universe where that happened, I can kind of see Smith at least have the intensity for that. Maybe not like I'm crazy type of thing, but at least like the intensity for that type of scene.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. It'd definitely be a different movie. This was a big year for not just Batman, but like that Punisher movie came out this year too. Like it was, and then speaking of them being kind of ashamed of the source material, they just had it on I've actually heard that movie's okay, but they had like the Punisher symbol on his knife and everything. Right. So like at least this one he's wearing a costume, you know what I mean?
Yeah, right. I mean, at least I haven't seen Incredible Hulk Returns, but I looked at the costume and I'm like, well, I mean, that's they went all out on a Thor costume. It's not like they just had a guy with blonde hair just walking around with a t-shirt and a hammer. Like they actually went with a Thor. Like he has the helmet on. He has the helmet on. It looks like he has the helmet on more than Chris Hemsworth ever wore the helmet. So they've got some version of that. So that's really cool. But let's show a little bit of this costume a little bit more. So that's what it looks like. And as you've already mentioned, there was it seems as if I couldn't find confirmation, but I'm pretty sure, right? This would have been the inspiration for the Man Without Fear early costume.
Yeah.
Which
definitely.
Yeah. Which in itself, of course, then leads into Charlie Cox's look in season 1 and 3 of the Netflix show. So it all kind of it's a tribute. It's a nice tribute to this. And I can't help but wonder, like, guys, like we can just have Rex Smith give him a cameo as like Matt's old law mentor from law school or something like that. Like that'd be cool.
Yeah, it would be cool, definitely. I noticed also, like, just since you brought Charlie Cox, I made a note of this. He
Mhm.
kind of does that whole like, you know how Charlie Cox like kind of does like the blind role where he kind of has like that
Mhm.
vacant kind of expression on his
Yeah.
face sometimes when he acts. The he does the same thing. This
Oh, yeah.
the actor in this, I noticed that they kind of both have that same kind of vibe to them, which is interesting. Like it's definitely a different performance, but like I don't know, like I liked this one. This one's also very much a ladies' man too, as we see in this movie,
Yeah.
which is great.
Mhm. Yeah, which is, very true to the character. So, I think that not only the intensity, but also like you see that softer side when he was with the witness, and then with we're gonna go into the other characters we see, but we have kind of a version of Karen Page here, just not named Karen. And so
Yeah.
instead of Karen Page and Foggy Nelson, we have Christa Klein and Al Pettiman. And instead of Foggy Nelson being his legal partner and Karen Page being the assistant, now it's Christa Klein as his, his partner at the legal firm, and Al
Mhm.
Pettiman as the assistant, which I thought was interesting. I mean, maybe they could have kept with the names a little bit, but there's something interesting here. Or maybe it's a thing where they wanted to keep the door open of, hey, if we can't get these actors back for the series, Matt like moves, because I don't think they identified that the city is New York in
Oh
the
yeah,
in
I guess
in
they
the TV
didn't.
movie. So they could say like, oh, now he's in New York, and now he meets up with Foggy Nelson and Karen Page, and those are the regulars, and Fisk just so happened, or he goes to New York because he knows Fisk is in New York. and he's just determined to go there. But
Yeah,
I don't know, it feels weird if Matt Murdock is not from there, or maybe it's a thing where Matt Murdock went from New York. That's
mhm.
where his dad was, killed in Hell's Kitchen, and then he goes to the city where Chief Tendelli is or whatever. But like, to me, just keep it all in New York. Just say that was New York.
Yeah,
Just keep it all in the same city. Fisk comes back there. Don't do this whole move away. But maybe if they were like, hey, we can't shoot in the city anymore. We got to shoot somewhere else. They would
yeah.
at least have the option to say like, okay, it's a different cast, or at least different supporting cast for the legal firm.
What'd you think of Pettiman, by the way?
It felt a little weird because I'm used to Foggy, or I'm used to Karen Page, but I get that they were trying to establish a dynamic that was like, oh, like a little, this is the comic relief, this is the snappy side, oh, he's, look at him, he's so like caught up with being part of the military, or he messes up, and so he's like the comic relief of the show. So I got it. I think it could get too annoying if they get too much of it, but I think he was in it just
Mhm.
enough.
Yeah, he was kind of an idiot in it. Like I was
He is
watching
an
it,
idiot,
I
yeah.
was like, "Oh my god!" Like it was one of those things where I was like, "Okay, she's the competent one, which is cool." At least they made her blonde though, too. I'll say that. Like I know that she's not like supposed to be Karen in this, but like it's
Mhm.
interesting that she's kind of blonde in this too, and they're kind of they have the same kind of shade of like top too, which is kind of interesting as well.
Yeah,
Like she has that jacket and then she has that top on, which is kind of like I'm sure that's unintentional, but yeah.
yeah,
Even the
it's
same
cool.
business suit for him too. Weird.
Yeah, yeah, it's good comparison, Dan. Dan pulled this up for us.
Nice.
Uh, there's also, what's the other thing? Oh yeah, the actress who plays Krista Klein, Nancy Everhard, is at the same time was in the Dolph Lundgren Punisher movie
Oh,
from '89. So she's in both Daredevil and Punisher. So it's kind of funny considering that now we've got the Netflix MCU universe where Karen Page is both a part of the Daredevil show and a part of the Punisher show. So it's foreshadowing of that too. This whole thing is very foreshadowing of the MCU. It kind of shows how things come around.
definitely.
Yeah.
The have you seen the Punisher movie, by the way?
A long time ago. I want to rewatch it, especially now that we're going to get more Punisher stuff with Mornigan, and now the special Marvel presentation with Bernthal that's going to come out next year. So I'm
Ooh,
definitely going to be kind of going down another Punisher rabbit hole. But I've seen all the Punisher movies.
nice. I haven't seen. I've heard Warzone is pretty rough. Is what I've heard.
It's he, the I think it's given a bad rap because I think people were expecting something different, because that's also like 2008 when
Yeah.
they're up against Dark Knight and Iron Man, and here's just this fun R-rated. Some people compared it to Joel Schumacher Batman, but I'm like,
Mhm.
well, just because it's got neon lights, like it was felt kind of uh, shallow of them. But yeah, if you think about it, it's like maybe a bit of the look of the Schumacher movies, but mixed with just hardcore R-rated graphic violence that's right out of the Punisher Max comics. So I thought that was like it was a really fun time at the theater, and it gave me exactly what I'm looking for out of it. And it's also kind of one where I'm like, look, like everybody loves these John Wick movies, and all it really is just a bunch of action. That's kind of all this what this is too. Like, why is this considered bad and the other one's considered to be good just because of the cast?
Yeah. I know that there's, and then we'll get back on this, but I know there's the one scene, or I've heard about it, or really two scenes. There's one where like Jigsaw's crying about like his face, and his brother's just like, I'll break every mirror and everything, which I find really funny. And then I watched the scene where he actually goes through like the glass thing, and he's just cussing out Punisher the whole time. He's like, fuck you, man, fuck you, like over and over again. I was like, Jesus.
Yeah, you can tell Dominic West had a lot of fun in that role. Yeah. I haven't seen the second season of Punisher where they try to do their version of Jigsaw, but already just looking at the design of the face, I'm just like, you didn't really do the Jigsaw look like they did in Warzone. It just doesn't look good. It doesn't really look right. It has to look. Otherwise, why call him Jigsaw unless his face is really, really messed up?
Yeah, I mean, like I actually started watching that again. I'm trying to watch like the Netflix stuff after watching Born Again, just to kind of like get that fix again a little bit. Also, because I haven't seen the later seasons. Like I've seen like the first season of Jessica Jones, the first season of Punisher, all 3 seasons of Daredevil, and then like I was like, let me actually watch these just to see, because I've heard decent things about the second season actually. So I'll check it out. I'll report back to you later about that.
Yeah, I'll watch it too, probably. So, we have these two characters. In terms of supporting cast, we have these two characters. We also have a cop named Tendelli, who's kind of shown as like a Commissioner Gordon type character for Daredevil, and he's also not somebody in the comics, but that's kind of he would have been a mainstay if they were to stay in the city for the rest of the series. He's kind of set up in that way. They even got like their own version of the Bat Phone for Daredevil, so that was cool. And then one thing that I wanted to ask you too that I thought was interesting when rewatching it, because I completely forgot about this character, but we have the character who kind of kicks off this inciting incident, and apparently his name is Denny in the credits that I found. He's played by John Novak, but he's clearly a lunatic. He's clearly like more unhinged than anyone else who's working for Fisk. And the way that he plays it, and they bring him back, I'm kind of just like, are they setting like a cool thing could have been if he turned into one of the Daredevil villains later, like, you know,
Like,
maybe he's Bullseye, like maybe he turns into someone else, some version of this.
that'd be cool. Definitely. I feel like Bullseye in this would probably just have maybe like a logo on his jacket or something. Like I could definitely see them doing that though. Like he definitely was memorable. He kind of he definitely, out of all of the thugs, like I remember just like he definitely stood out. Him and the like the Wesley stand-in that they have in
Edgar.
this for Edgar.
Yeah. And that was cool too, because he's still with Fisk and he's like, oh, he'll forgive me. And I'm like, okay, what's the story there? Right. Like
Yeah,
there's gotta be something, because you know, if they continue this, Fisk would find out and be like,
definitely.
Edgar,
Yeah.
I know what you did.
Yeah.
So that was really interesting too, and it provided some sense of depth that they didn't need to bring to this, you know, little TV movie that's supposed to spin off something. Like they didn't need to go that far with that, but that was really interesting. That was a really cool level of characterization. But it's interesting, right? Because we've from the comics, we've got Matt Murdock, we've got Fisk, and we've got no Ellen Page, no Foggy Nelson, no Bullseye, none of the other villains. But we do have one minor villain, which is Turk. Turk is still in it.
I was amazed when I think I messaged you about that. I'm like, they got Turk in this, like of all the things they could have like brought over, and it's the guy from Elf. Like it's the post office worker. It's the one that's down there with him. It's the same dude. I was just like, that's amazing. They did race swap him, which I'm just like, hey, it's okay. But like, it's one of those things where I'm like, hey, at least he's in this. It's like I said earlier, small victories. But I'm like, he's like the comics. This is great.
Yeah, and that was cool. And how he runs into Deli later with all the money, and he's like, whoops. He's always screwing up Turk. So that was it just goes to show, okay, like there was some stuff in here that was not like the comics, but they definitely did their research, because otherwise, like, why is Turk in this if they weren't actually going through it? And the recap of the origin is extremely faithful with the whole, my dad was a boxer, I was saving an old man who was, blind himself, and then there was radioactive waste that got in my eyes.
Mhm.
We even get like an early version of like the radar sense. Like they didn't need to go this
Yeah.
far in for the time being. Like these days it's like bare minimum, but like back in '89, that was they didn't have to do that. They could have easily gone in a completely different direction and be like, he's Daredevil because he's a stunt acrobat dude, and Hulk encounters him because he's going to the circus or something stupid like that. But they
Yeah.
actually stayed true to what was there, and you can see the components or the potential for a '90s show that would have maybe not have been the most faithful to the comics, or not nearly as faithful as what we would see in the Netflix version,
Mhm.
but at least it had the heart and soul of what you would look for in a Daredevil show, of a Matt Murdock who really cares about justice and is incredible with his abilities. I really love the part where he's talking to the Banner, and he's like, "Oh, it's easy. I just swing over there and just go across." Go, like even though I'm 20 stories up all the way over, I can do it with my eyes closed. And it's like, oh yeah, this really is the man without fear.
Yeah, I did like that, and then, like, the going back to the radar vision, it's so 80s looking, it's definitely,
Mm.
like, one of those things where it kinda looks like, I haven't seen the Predator movies really, but, like, the
Oh, it is like
Predator
that.
vision
Yeah.
kinda thing, like, it kinda
Mm.
reminded me of that a bit, like, I did like you said, they didn't even have to do that, or the some of the practical stuff they do in this, like him, like, going across on that, like, line to
Mhm.
Fisk's building. Like I was actually like when you mentioned him being Batman earlier, I'm like, well, he kind of does a Batman like stunt in this where he slides across to like that other building and everything, which was
Mhm.
impressive.
I also forgot until I rewatched it that Fisk has his own like hovercopter thing at the end. I'm
Yeah.
like, how we get the budget for this? This thing shows up for like less than a minute in the entire thing. And I'm like, we got a budget for this. This thing has to come back into the series if they ever brought the series. But I'm like, that's a big swing. Like you didn't have to. I mean, it could have just been a regular helicopter, but they had to do like something that does feel comic booky. I
Yeah.
don't know if there's any precedent for a Kingpin hovercraft like that in the comics, but
It looked like a
it,
land speeder from Star
yeah.
Wars. Like it was like I was looking at him like this science fiction like vehicle they have and this like mostly grounded like kind of gritty for the time like
Hmm.
show and they have this like this thing like this giant vehicle like no explanation. It's just
Hmm.
up there on the roof and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, no, but I thought that was great because it's like, oh yeah, this is very comic booky because
Yeah.
I feel like the Incredible Hulk TV show was that may have been the first time where they adapted something and said, hey, we got to keep it like really realistic.
Hmm.
Maybe because I think that yeah, it does predate. I'm pretty sure it predates Dawn or Superman. With that, right? It's
Yeah.
1975.
Yeah.
With that, let me just double check real quick.
Well,
TV
Spider-Man
series.
was realistic too, or had a
Oh yeah, well I
grounded
didn't
feel
see that
to it
one.
as well.
Probably, yeah. So maybe Marvel was the one that started. Yeah, 1977 for the Incredible Hulk series, at least, and then let's see, the Spider-Man 1970s show would have been 1977 to 1979. So yeah, those two on TV before Superman comes out in 1978. But yeah, there was definitely a pairing of realism there because you never got the Abomination. You
Yeah.
never got like the leader in that series. It was always like, oh, going from town to town and hulking out when someone
Well,
was getting abused, or oh, he had to rescue a kid or something like that. And that was really
mhm.
it was a cool aspect of that show, and I think that's what really worked, and that's what helped get Hulk into the like pop culture like zeitgeist.
Well, it's funny you bring that up because I did see a clip where it was someone claiming it was the Abomination in the old 70s show, but like someone else gets Hulk's like powers basically, and like their face like mutates and everything. And they look like a more aggressive version of the
Oh.
Hulk, and they grab David's arm and everything and like throw him against like the back of a wall and stuff
Mhm,
like that. I remember seeing like they got more experimental later on, but there was like a
mhm,
moment where David started changing, but he didn't change all the way. Like he like froze at like a halfway point basically, and he couldn't get back to like David, but like he was
oh,
aware kind of like, it wasn't Smart Hulk, but it was kind of like a weird midway point. Like they kind of messed around. He also fought a bear, so that was another thing in
Yeah.
the series too. But yeah,
I saw
cool
someone
stuff.
comment too. I don't know how accurate this is, but they said this is the only time where Hulk actually punches a human being. I don't know how
Really?
true that is, but I think somebody mentioned that it's at least the time where he comes in to rescue Daredevil from like all the Sonic stuff. So I don't know how
Mhm.
true that is. It's at least the first time he punches somebody in the movie, as opposed to just grab and throw. You know,
Yeah, he definitely did
uh,
a lot of that.
yeah, and I think that's the main thing that he would do in the
Mhm.
series, because it's like, well, we don't want him to kill people. Probably is what they were thinking of, but we can at least have him punch, a ninja or two in this in Incredible Hulk thing. But it's interesting watching this because it's cool to watch in 2025 as Daredevil fans, but I'm sure that Hulk fans in 1989 were just like, I'm here for the Hulk. Who's this Daredevil guy? Why do I care? Hulk does not show up in at all in the end. Like
Yeah,
the last Hulk out is the rescue Daredevil, and then the rest of it is the Daredevil and Banner show, which is still great because it's great dynamic between the two of them. But Hulk doesn't show up. It's called Trial of the Incredible Hulk, and he never makes it to trial. It's
yeah,
only a dream sequence. He never goes. He never hulks out there, which is kind of disappointing, honestly, because it imagine the dramatic potential of him actually hulking out
yeah.
up
I
there.
always
You know,
misremember that whenever I go back to watch this, because in my head it's just like, oh yeah, well they have that moment where they're in the court, and then I remember watching this again and how aggressive they are with like David, like they're all just like screaming at him
David.
and being like order, and like the judge is also screaming at him, talking about like
Mhm.
calm down and
Yeah,
everything, and I'm just like, yeah, this is insane. Like it's like no wonder this is like a nightmare or something. Oh, and the other thing, the like Fisk sends like a guy, like, hands a guy a weapon, basically. Like they have this
mhm.
prison system, and he tries to stab him, and then like he gets up before he can do it, and then after that it never comes up again. Like he never tries to kill him again.
Yeah. He just sees him hulk out in the prison. He's like, "Oh, okay, I'm just not going
Yeah.
to do anything then."
He just chills out after that. He's like, never mind.
Yeah. But I imagine this was disappointing for Hulk fans, but for us, I think the heart of this movie, and I think we agree on this,
Mhm.
is the Banner and Murdoch friendship, which I you don't really associate that being a superhero friendship that much compared to like Daredevil and Spider-Man, Batman and Superman, but
Yeah.
it's really strong in this one. And sure, they argue about a couple of things, but there's something refreshing about watching the dynamic that they have. The part at the end where Banner's just like, I have a brother in the world, and it's just so touching compared to we're so used to seeing like the Avengers bicker, Batman versus Superman,
The
so like,
radiation line where he's just like,
oh
it's
yeah,
like, you wouldn't know about like radiation. He's like, trust me, I would. Like I was
yeah,
like, that moment stood out to me. That was great. Yeah,
yeah,
like that.
yeah,
I wouldn't even think about that, but they are kind of bonded, that they both like were negatively affected by radiation, especially like, well, in the comics it's a little different, but like, like that same kind of thing. Like it's a
mhm,
cool parallel, definitely.
yeah, for sure. But yeah, I love their dynamic, and it's a shame, right? It's a shame that like if this was a series, I'm sure at some point Bixby would have like he comes back into the city again to and has another issue. The
Definitely.
return of Banner in that context, so you can kind of continue the whole like, oh, I have a brother in the world type of
Yeah,
thing that was introduced there. Could have been really cool.
definitely.
So I do have information in terms of what happened about this, because this was intended to be a pilot. I wasn't completely sure, because sometimes you never know on the internet. People make assumptions, and we're just like, oh, they
Mhm.
must have wanted to do a spin-off. So I was like, okay, first off, is that true? Did they actually want to do a spin-off? And this was confirmed by Rex Smith himself. So Rex Smith said, yes, there was a spin-off, but that was planned. He was written to be a part of it. John Rhys Davies was written to be a part of it. So it was going to be at least Matt Murdock and Fisk, maybe not the other characters, but at least those two. So what happened here?
Mhm.
Well, Rex Smith said that NBC sold his contract. They basically bought out that contract because, oh, there's another superhero show coming out. CBS wants to do The Flash with John Wesley Shipp. And, there can only be one superhero show out there. We don't want the competition, like
Ugh.
the audience only wants so much superhero. It can only really be one. Right. So
Oh.
let's not do Daredevil. We don't want to be in competition with that.
Yeah.
And then they ended it, and they didn't allow Daredevil to go through. So thanks, Flash.
Yeah, well, I mean, I do have a whole rewatch podcast basically predicated on if that 90s show had never happened, I don't even know if I'd have the show. So,
Yeah, I know,
I
I know.
mean, we ended up winning in the end. We got the
I think so.
Netflix series, so,
No,
but
I
it's
think
too
so
damn
too.
bad,
I think we got the best of both, right? Because we got the TV movie and then we got the Flash series, as opposed to if there was an alternate universe where there's a TV show of Daredevil but no Flash show, then like, okay, how much of that would have impacted the Flash in terms of different adaptations? We at least get to live in a world where there was both. Right? There was
Yeah.
at least both in on some level, and who knows? Daredevil might have suffered the same fate. Daredevil might have had a one season show as well, like
Mhm.
the Flash. Like it might not have necessarily been more successful than the Flash because of the fact that you're not dealing with as big of a character as Batman, or Superman at that point. Maybe it would have helped, right, to have that. Like maybe that would have jump started a little bit more of Daredevil's popularity at the time. Who knows? But it's an interesting what if. It's an interesting exercise to be like, oh, what if they did do the series?
I
Who would
just
have been
got
part of it? How would it have been? I'd like to think it would have been slightly. It's already kind of a little bit more comic booky than the Hulk series because of the fact that we have Kingpin, because of the fact that we kind of have, a hovercraft type of thing and a guy
yeah.
with radar sense and working with the cops. Like it feels much more comic booky compared to the average Hulk episode, where the most comic booky thing is that towards the end he hulks out when he has to.
Yeah. I just thought of if we were in that alternate universe, what I would call the podcast. It would probably be called Men Without Fear, a Daredevil rewatch podcast. Like I already came up with that on the spot. So you know what? I would have been fine either universe, basically.
It'd be another character in skin tight red.
Yeah,
If they had done, could you imagine a Daredevil costume that's similar to the John Wesley Ship one? Where it's like
I could
that type of
see it.
material,
Yeah,
muscular,
I
and the
could
cowl with
definitely
like,
see it. And
yeah, with the horn.
the 89 Batman thing would probably influence it. Like probably not in the same ways, but like it definitely would probably influence it like it did that 90s Flash show in
Mhm.
some ways.
Yeah, because I can imagine too. Like, okay, we got a TV show. Maybe we have a little bit more of a budget now because now it's a full series. Let's give him the actual comic book costume, and he upgrades to it in the pilot or something, and then now
Yeah.
he's in something that's like the John Wesley Ship type of suit, but it's Daredevil, and he's got the horns on the cowl and stuff. And he's still
Mhm.
doing the same stuff that he did in the show. Oh yeah, another thing that comes to mind, we get the first hallways fight in this, right? Because
Yeah.
he fights Fisk's men and women too in that hallway, and I was like, oh. This is, I mean, I don't know if they necessarily were drawing off of that for the Netflix show, but technically this predates all of that, right?
Yeah.
So that was another fun thing.
I wonder how much this show or not this show, this movie, like I do wonder because I know definitely like we know obviously like and I was even showing you some parallels in the
Mhm,
comic with like stuff they pulled for the show with like Bullseye and stuff like
mhm.
that. But I'm like, I do wonder if they went back and watched this. I would assume they'd have to be like at least aware of
I'm
this in
sure.
some way, shape, or form. But like
Yeah,
I could see it.
yeah, yeah. But again, would be cool if they brought Rex Smith in as like a cameo or like a short role of, an older lawyer or somebody who mentored him in law school, like
Yeah.
that type of thing. Like we lost his priest character, right, in season 3,
Hmm.
so maybe somebody who's like that, but like on the law side or the legal side, that type of thing to help balance that out, or knows his identity or something like that. So that'd be cool.
Maybe he's like a morally gray kind of lawyer too, where he's kind of like maybe he kind of like he not in the way like he's like a superhero, but he kind of like I get where you're coming from, Matt, like that kind of
Mhm.
thing.
Yeah,
Like that I
sometimes you got
could
to bend
see
the
him
rules. Yeah,
legal
that type of guy.
counsel kind of thing, maybe.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that'd be really cool because we got the guy who's in Ant-Man. There's a cameo of a guy. Hold on, let me pull it up. It was like a guy who cameoed in Ant-Man because he was an SNL skit as Ant-Man. Yeah, Garrett Morris. He was in an SNL skit as Ant-Man. And I'm like, dude, if the Marvel universe can get that guy who was in an SNL skit of a Marvel superhero, it's not really like a sanctioned Marvel thing.
Hmm.
Throw a bone to some of these original actors, like Eric Allen Kramer, who was Thor. Like, not once is he in any of the 4 Thor movies,
Yeah,
like
like
Rex Smith in this.
Lou Ferrigno would like a voice, like he did the voice for for the Hulk in the movie, and then also like,
The
in
cameo.
the Ang Lee like Hulk movie, he was like a security guard or something like that, I
Yeah, and
think.
he was 1 and 2 in, the Norton one. Norton gives
Yeah.
him a pizza. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard he's not to speak ill about like a celebrity, I've heard he's kind of cantankerous like in
really?
real life a little bit, yeah.
Well, he is the Hulk, so
Yeah, living up to the
makes
character, I
sense.
guess.
Makes sense, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's pretty much what I've got in terms of the Daredevil show that never was. We can sort of presume the characters that were a part of it. If they did continue this, we would have seen more Turk, Fisk, and Edgar, and maybe Edgar, faces some consequences in terms of what he does and letting that girl go.
Mhm.
We have Christa, who clearly has some sort of thing with Matt that's like Karen Page, except she's not the lawyer as opposed to the assistant. We've got Al as like the comic relief. But yeah, overall, it's an interesting exploration of what could have been. You know.
Mhm. Definitely. You think we would have gotten more court cases in this versus the Netflix show? Probably.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it probably would have been legal drama by day, but mixed with like, okay, and then because he can't get justice, he has to get it this way as Daredevil. Though at a certain point, I think it's going to make him look like a really bad lawyer.
Yeah.
Like I still couldn't get after them. I need to dress up. I'm like, dude, maybe. Yeah, how much can you help this out? I mean, I'm sure there's going to be some episodes where he's able to save the day as Matt versus Daredevil, but you can only do so many stories, right? Of like, oh, I lost the case. You can't do that in every episode where he loses the case and has to solve it as Daredevil.
Definitely. Or you could have it to where I guess like maybe Fisk is behind, because Fisk seems behind like a lot of stuff. Like they also do have kind of in this, like they seem to have a history already. Like
Mhm.
Daredevil seems to be very established in this world already. Like I told you, I love the graffiti that they
Yeah.
had like
Mhm.
on the walls and everything. Like Daredevil is like rad or like something like that. Like just seeing stuff like that is so cool because it makes the world feel like lived in
Mhm.
already. Like it's already like a whole story has been going on before you even show up, basically. Like I loved that whole aspect of it,
Mhm.
definitely.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I know. So to wrap it up, too, I know that you want to talk a little bit about the new show, right, with
Yeah.
Daredevil Born Again. So again, this is going to go on the main show. I just kind of shared my thoughts
Mhm.
on Patreon. As of now, as of this recording, we've only seen the first 2 episodes. Personally, for me, I feel like it's lost a step from the original one, but I'm open to the possibility it's going to turn things around because I do know that there was some conflict with like the original take on what it was going to be that was going to be different from the Netflix show, and now this is a sort of revamped version of it that combines what was previously shot with new stuff that's trying to tie it together with now like
Mhm.
putting in Foggy and Karen. I just felt that some of the stuff with the characters didn't really gel with what I felt were what was presented right in the Netflix type of stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm willing to see things turn around. It's only been the first 2 episodes.
Yeah, and it's a longer season, right? Like it's like 18 episodes, right? Is what I've heard.
I've basically read that it's 9 where they split it up. It was going to be 18 and then it's been split up. So season 1, which is technically season 4, I guess. Season
Mhm.
1 of Born Again is 9 and then season
Mhm.
2 will be the next 9.
Okay. Yeah. So my one question though too, because I didn't even consider this before. Karen's coming back, right? Or we're just to assume that she's coming back.
I think they said that she's coming back for season 2.
Oh, she's not going to be in this season.
Well, she's sort of just gone like, "Whoa, I'm in San Francisco now. It's nice to see you, Matt." And then that was it. Like I think maybe she comes back. That's what I don't care about. But I get that
Okay.
maybe it was one where we have all this stuff. We can't just like reshoot everything. So we have to find some way to bring her in because I don't really like the whole like, oh, like, you know, I'm just gone now. I'm like, Karen, you've been through all this other shit in all the other series, and this is how you're going to react to this. Like, I
Yeah.
didn't care for it, and it's I don't know. I felt for Matt in that moment because he really
Mhm.
desperately wanted her to stay, and she's like, nope, and here's your horn, and I'm like, this doesn't
Yeah.
feel like this is what she would do.
Like I don't know. It's like that changes what I was gonna say then, because like I thought that she was gonna be in more this season. So like
Mhm.
I'm the new characters are fine. Like I don't really like I'll give them some more time, like you said, to kind of build them up a little bit. Right now I'm mainly just attached to the Kingpin story
Same.
and just seeing what that character does. I kind of agree with you on the whole like hit that assistant kind of character, the one that's related to the guy from the Sopranos.
Michael Gandolfini.
Yeah, where he's just like he's probably he seems like a less competent like Starscream or something, basically, where he's kind of like just off to the side, like a sycophantic guy that maybe like I don't know is like trying to take advantage of Kingpin, or maybe trying to like climb
I was
the
like, why do we
ladder.
need this character? I'm sure that it's going to pay off later, but for the time being, I was like, you're just sucking up the screen time, dude. Like, just give me more of, the scenes like Matt and Fisk at the diner. Like, that was great.
That was great. Yeah,
That was
I like
great.
the Urich like character though too. Like the BB Urich, I think that she's good
I
so
didn't
far.
address this in the previous in the Patreon episode where I did this, but I would love it if she's playing the long game and she knows that Fisk killed her uncle and she's doing this again on the side, but she's really she has plans to screw him over.
She has to know something. Like that's just like otherwise, what are you doing? Because that's like one of those things too, where like from season one, like I remember he was such like because I read Born Again too, and I was like, well, this guy's gonna live for a while because I remember all the stuff he went through on there. It's like nope, like he gets taken out, which I was like, hey, I'll give Marvel this, like the balls they had to basically kill off like a character that like is a pretty big supporting character in the Marvel comics, basically. Like that was a big swing. And then like seeing this, like a lot of this season seems to be like the sins of like the past, basically like catching up with the main characters. And so like with Kingpin, it's kind of like killing off Ben Urich with with like his niece, right?
Yeah, she says that he was her uncle.
Yeah. So his niece, and then like with Matt, it's the it's what he perceives as crossing the line. I would argue that like Bullseye didn't die, and I know that's not like one of those like oh it doesn't count, but like also like I don't know, man. Like if somebody, and maybe this is why I'm not a superhero, but if somebody had killed like my best friend, like I don't know if I'd necessarily be responsible for like what my actions were like after that. So
yeah, that felt weird to me too, because it'd be one thing. Let's say it wasn't Bullseye who did it, and then he actually killed the guy. Then I'd be like, okay, I kind of get it, right? But then it's like, oh, a line was crossed. I'm like, yeah, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it was one where you lucked out, you intended to kill him, but it wasn't. So it feels muddled to me at that point.
And also like Daredevil, like in the comics, I guess to an extent, I don't know, I haven't read a lot of him in the comics, but he is very much a hypocrite too as well, because remember in season 2 where he was talking about like, oh, this city needs you, just like he's talking to the Punisher, and then like with Elektra, he's like, oh, I just want to go off with you and like just kill people and like just basically run around like the world with you and everything. So like dude's a hypocrite. He's kind of his own worst enemy. So like, I don't know, man.
Why are we following this character for 4 seasons?
Yeah, he's frustratingly real, like sometimes, to be honest.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, we can't kill people, Frank, and then he just lets Frank just take out all the hand. I get that they're maybe not really alive, but still, it was kind of like,
he was about to kill too. Remember that where he was like, he's about to kill too. He's talking to the Punisher. It's like, well, maybe this one time, Frank. I was like, what are you doing, man?
Stick to your damn principles. Yeah, it's messy. And then who knows what he did to those? I think those cops are dead, man. At the end of that episode, I was like,
you think?
I heard a neck snap when he tossed the guy over and he lands on his head.
Maybe that's why he screamed, because I was assuming he screamed just because like he's like, you kind of made me like basically like act like or one, either way he's screwed, right? Because like either way there are 2 cops that like saw him do all this stuff, and either they're dead or they're not. He's in this random person's apartment that's also like they were trying to kill, so it doesn't look good like either way.
You're right. You're right.
Yeah.
Watch them be like, oh, they're both in a coma, but they're alive.
Yeah.
They can find some way. I'm like, dude, you messed up. You really look like you killed anybody else, but okay, you might luck out and find out that they also are alive. You can only push that button so many times though, because like literally just the previous episode, he throws Bullseye off the building and he happens to be alive. So I'm just like, what, is he just lucky?
The metal. Remember, it's the
Oh,
metal in
yeah.
his spine and everything, which people are theorizing now. It's like, could that be? I saw a new Rockstars thing where they're like, could that be adamantium? That they're, since they have that now, they can. They reference that now. They can kind of say that maybe. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, they could have acknowledged that a little bit, because I'm just like, he got lucky on that one. But then now that you mentioned that, I'm like, oh, okay, there is a better explanation in terms of why Bullseye is just like, I'm alive. It's just like, well, you didn't break anything because it's adamantium or some sort of metal, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like he got punched in the face with the pavement, but not too hard.
Yeah. And definitely, it's like one of those things where actually lost my train of thought for a minute, but you think they're gonna give him the D's on his chest for the
I hope so at some point.
It's like, do it already, guys. Like, come on. Oh,
I'm
that's the
surprised it
thing I
wasn't
was
already
gonna
there.
say.
Go ahead.
He so like you're talking about getting off easy. I'm wondering if a lawyer is gonna come up to him like in No Way Home and be like, well, you're off the hook for this one, but not in the court of public opinion. Matt Murdock. Like, I'm waiting for that scene, basically, where they just wipe it all away.
It's gonna be Ben Affleck too in a cameo.
Oh, dude, that'd be amazing. Like, I would just unironically like love that moment. I'd stand up like you and Andrew always talk about and clap if they did that.
And then Happy Hogan just happens to be in the room, like Jon Favreau just happens to be in there.
Just bring it all home. Which, oh, by the way, like the interesting question, which Happy do you prefer? The one in the old Daredevil movie or the one in the show?
Oh, Foggy?
Yeah.
In general, I prefer Favreau in the movie because I just remember him being funny and remember the scenes. Foggy in the Netflix show always kind of felt like the annoying friend who's just like, you're going around killing people. I mean, not killing people, but like hurting people. I'm just like, he's getting justice done. Like, get out of here. Just get out of the way. Right.
Seriously, he whined like way too much.
And
then also, I'll give him this. They finally got rid of that stupid haircut that he had in like the earlier seasons. They gave him a beard and like a proper like.
They gave him a glow up for sure.
Yeah, because he looked rough in those old seasons. I'm like, is this like your college like intern or something like this? Like, why does he look like this, man? No disrespect to the actor. Maybe that was just like how he liked his hair. Like, I have no idea.
Yeah,
but like
they made him do that, and he was like, okay, guys, this time can I just look the way that I look?
Can I look like an adult, please?
Yeah.
I know it's hilarious coming from me. I have long hair, but it's like, it's different. I'm not a lawyer.
You're not doing well. Yeah, you're not a lawyer, and you also like you have it tied up. You're not having it like he did in that early season. So
a surfer look.
Yeah.
But yeah,
awesome. So go ahead and do your plug for your shows. You have a variety of different shows. We've both done together. Mm-hmm. We've covered a lot of different things of interest to probably the most interest to them would be our coverage of Batman Resurrection, right? On Night of the Batman.
Definitely. So like to reference that really quick off the top, Night of the Batman, we interviewed John Jackson Miller. He actually has a new book out now called Batman Revolutions. It'll
be in October. It's not out right now, but it'll be in October.
Yeah, and he actually did say that he would come back on whenever like that's out. So look forward to that potentially in the future. I'll have Ben back on. We'll do another interview, kind of like state of things. But yeah. We also did for Night of the Batman recently, episode 50. I covered my Crusader prequel script, which I wrote in high school. So like we kind of like reacted to it. Wasn't as much of a roast fest as I thought it was going to be. We kind of we reacted to it. We kind of like addressed like the problems of it while also just being like, for potential like young writers out there, be like, take chances. I didn't really with that script as much as I probably should have. Like, definitely like put everything into it. Like, just get yourself out there, write. It's not going to be perfect the first time. And so that's kind of the angle we took with that. with flashbacks. I actually recorded this yesterday. It'll be out on Tuesday. But we covered the Flash of Two Worlds. Yeah, recently, like the comic, because after that we're going to cover the actual episode. So me and Brady laughed at all the Silver Age like silliness, basically, and like had a lot of fun getting into that one. And then Tangential Exchange is eventually coming back. Me and my friend drink, kind of laugh, have fun. That's our most laid back one. What Mean is going to come back. It's just on a hiatus right now. Brady said it's on a hiatus, like the Young Justice thing between like season like 2 and like
many
3
years.
Yeah, so I'm like, it'll eventually come back. It's gonna have a permanent home. And and my wife has a Gilmore Girls podcast called Review More Girls that she does with her cousin. So definitely check all those out. I'm sure Ben will provide links in the description. And yeah, on to you, Ben.
Yep. Awesome. So yeah, keep tuning into Superhero Stuff You Should Know. As you guys might have noticed, we've been doing a lot more narrated reels and shorts that'll allow me to cover some new stuff that I've been learning about to share with you guys that doesn't warrant a whole hours long worth of a podcast discussion, so that's like new concept art, little tidbits, things that I've learned recently. We did one, for example, on how the Roger Corman Fantastic Four movie at one point was considered to be like, hey, like, why don't we release it after a big budget one and say that it's like the prequel, even if like the actors aren't even the same. Nobody cares about these comic book stuff and continuity. We're just nerds. But like that type of stuff. So you can check that out. In terms of my writing, you can see in my t-shirt here that I wear in a lot of the episodes recently. I have published, I've been publishing an indie comic series that I wrote called Alter Ego. And essentially it's, 5 families of supervillains take over a city, and the main character is this outsider who goes undercover as a henchman to take them down. And Alex has graciously done a variant cover of the first issue that features one of the supervillains, and he's done another one that I'm saving for a future issue because the character he did in that plays a big role in that one, so I'm kind of saving it for that one. But Alex has provided the variant cover for that one, so that's awesome. You can check those out on Amazon. It's a little bit of a mix of the Batman No Man's Land world with like undercover cops, Donnie Brasco, The Departed, and then I have a manga, Musashi and Son. And that's essentially kind of like a samurai Batman and Robin of Musashi and his, apprentice going from village to village to protect them from bandits, while also looking for the bandits who killed the boy's father, because the boy's an orphan himself. So
gorgeous book, by the way, like both of them, but like the art gorgeous on that front cover. I thought it, like you had shared it before. I thought you were showing me like something that was like that you had checked out, basically. Like it looks great. Definitely check out both, guys. It's great stuff.
Thank you. Yeah, Ira V is the name of the artist that did that for me, and she did a fantastic job on that one, and I definitely want to bring her in for the next volume, which I'm currently writing. And then outside of that, many of you guys might know more of my stuff. If you're not familiar with my original stuff, you might be familiar with my stuff on Nuverse Creative, where I've been writing adaptations of different Batman unmade scripts or comic books set in the worlds of the different movies. But most recently, now it looks like I'm pulling double duty, because now I'm also the voice of the Michael Keaton Batman and Val Kilmer Batman on Nuverse Creative. And so we did the adaptation of the early Batman Forever scripts, one that is done in the style of the Burton verse with me as Michael Keaton, and one in the style of the like actual Joel Schumacher movie that we called Batman Forever, the Joel Schumacher cut audio drama, where I'm Val Kilmer. And so we'd like to consider this to be the start of another era that's on the channel, where I'm kind of pulling, like I said, double duty, writer and actor in 2 different Batmen. But there'll be other stories in those universes with Keaton's version, with Kilmer's version. Some of them are going to be the same story. Some of them are going to be very different stories. And you'll just have to see what's in store for that. But we have an upcoming, it might already be out by the time this gets released to everybody. But we do have an upcoming episode where Tim at Nuverse interviews me, and we talk about the behind the scenes of the Batman 3 and Batman Forever audio dramas from both an actor and a writer's perspective, and then talk, kind of tease about the future. So definitely check those out if you're a fan of 90s Batman, which most of you are, because that's the majority of our views are on that type of stuff. So
I was checking out the some of the Bat Feed stuff too. Like
yeah.
they had a podcast with behind the scenes. I know you did like some work for them. You did the voice of that Batman and that. Like they did kind of like a behind the scenes kind of
That too.
podcast type thing too. I
Yeah.
noticed. But yeah, like great stuff. He's involved in all aspects of Batman's world. Ben is.
I'm way too many Batman at this point. Like, should I start working on my Clooney impression? Like, how many more? But I'm glad with I'm good with what I got. I'm very grateful to be working with Jake at the Bat Feed for the Arkham Tapes version of Batman, who's like this version that turns into a monster, and so I had to do it like a monster voice. And then with Tim over at Nuverse Creative for being gracious enough to not only do my writing but also now cast me as two different Batmen and the Batman of my childhood. And there was a lot of pressure involved in it. You guys will see it in the behind the scenes episode, but I'm just grateful to be where I'm at with all those, and I love working with everybody involved with you, with these collaborations, with those guys for theirs. This show has really been a gift for me in terms of like leading me to meet a lot of awesome people doing their own stuff that I can help out with and they can help with me.
I gotta know though, Ben, for because I haven't watched the Joel Schumacher one all the way through yet. Did you have the line too where he's like, "Holy rusted metal, Batman"? Did you include that part?
It wasn't in the Batman 3 script, so it's not in.
Oh man. Okay. I guess that's
I'm
fair.
sorry. We're gonna redo the entire thing for you,
Yeah,
Alex.
there you go. I told you got to make the cut where it starts at Radio Detonator, man. So I have the whole
Radio Detonator is in it.
Oh,
It is in
nice.
it.
I'm
But
waiting for it.
I don't know if Tommy Ricard says it the same way as Tommy Lee Jones in that bit, but
I'll do my dub. I'll do a separate dub, like a fan dub of it.
Batman Forever,
Radio
the Schumacher
Detonator.
cut, Alex cut.
Yeah.
That's gonna be
More like Nanny cut. My grandma, she recorded it. It's her directorial choice.
nice. Awesome. Anything else before we wrap?
No, that's it on my end.
Nice. Awesome. Well, and with that is superhero stuff you should know.